Welcome back into the NFL Report. And Steve, we have an all-pro guest with us. It is the left guard of the Cleveland Browns, Jeol Bitonio. And Joel, you guys are making massive headlines, and let's just jump right into it this week with the loss of your starting quarterback, Deshaun Watson, after just a brilliant second half by your offense and by him individually. So it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson that is in there. What does DTR say to you? You've played with him as your quarterback in a game, but I doubt you've had him operating your huddle in a Wednesday in practice. What's the first thing he says to you guys as an offense?
He was just locked in. You know, I saw this morning he was real focused once we heard the news about Deshaun, which is obviously disappointing for everybody. You know, we thought we were taking some really good steps as a team. But Dorian was really focused this morning. He called the first play, and you could tell he had that confidence, and he was ready to step in and you know, fill the shoes that we need in a starting quarterback. You know, our defense is playing really well right now. We have some playmakers in Amari and David who are playing really good on offense. So get those guys the ball, take care of the ball for us, and see what we could do. But the confidence was there, and I think he's ready to put in the work that's needed to be a starting quarterback in this league.
Joel, before we continue to push forward, I do have to ask you this, because there were some, I don't even know which one to call them, people out there who questioned Deshaun Watson's toughness a couple weeks ago about his shoulder. Does he really want to play? We find out he played that second half with a high ankle sprain and a new shoulder injury that if he didn't have immediate surgery, they said this thing could like fall apart. It could become actually jacked up. What can you tell us about Deshaun's toughness and what he displayed, especially last Sunday?
Yeah, since he's been around the team, he's shown that, you know, want to be out on the field with the guys, and I know he dealt with some shoulder issues earlier in the year. But it was limiting his ability to be able to throw the football. But if there's anything that wasn't, like this high ankle sprain, this shoulder injury that was obviously painful for him and you know, obviously a little bit dangerous for him this last game, it just shows he wants to be out there with the team. You know, he talked all week about how this was a big game for us, a big game for him, because that's what he came here to do, is play in these AFC North battles. And we appreciated that effort. You know, even after the game, before I knew his shoulder was all messed up, I was like, I just appreciate you fighting through with the ankle. And being out there with the guys, and so we understand that, and it really shows how tough he is as a guy, and you know, the want to be out there for the Cleveland Browns.
You guys have that as a team, though, Joel. You know that the grittiness that you guys have shown throughout the course of this season, and specifically, I'll talk about that second half one more time because there's a play we need to address here, Steve. Joel, you're at the left guard spot. You come across and you engage with Jadeveon Clowney. You guys are well behind the line of scrimmage. Jerome Ford's going downfield, and you are way behind the play, but your entire team is pushing him downfield, and you come in at the end, and you put that final push in. Kevin Stefanski said it was his favorite play of the game. I'm curious, run through that play from your perspective, and is that maybe one of your favorite plays that you pushed your entire offense into field goal range to win it?
Yeah, you know, we knew we had to get down to field goal range to give us ourselves a chance. We kind of called like a punch play, which you know, usually I'm kicking out the end man on line of scrimmage, but the way they blitzed, it happened to be a lot quicker than I was used to. So Jadeveon ended up, you know, right across the line for me. So it kind of turned into like a trap play for me, and I had to kick him out kind of last second. So we had a good collision, and I was kind of behind the play, like you said, and I kind of had my head down. I look up, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, the play's still going. And the first thought in my mind was like, I can't be the only one not pushing the pile, so I wanted to come in and try and help at the end. And we knew we only needed, you know, 10 or 15 more yards, but luckily I got in there and helped move the pile a few more yards. But I think it just shows, you know, coaches really stress resilience and toughness and what we want to be as, you know, a Cleveland Brown this year. And I think that play just kind of just shows the team and shows the world, like, we have 11 guys on the field every play that want to fight for, you know, the Cleveland Browns any way we can get a win.
Hey, Joel, I think every train coming through Cleveland now is going to paint a number 75 on the caboose in tribute to you right there on that play.
Pushing through.
So we talked a little bit about DTR being the next man up at quarterback, but no place has kind of symbolized next man up with this team more than your offensive line. I mean, you guys are down tackles. You guys are down to, you know, you have to shift some players around. What about the functionality of that group and the way you guys are finding ways to work together?
Yeah, you know, we've been a little bit banged up. You know, obviously we lost Jack in the first game. You know, Jed's got banged up too. So our two starting tackles from the year, and then DeJuan also has been a little bit banged up. So we're going on 4-5 right now. But I think it's a testament to Coach Callahan, Coach Peters, Coach DeCosta, our three real O-line coaches that come in here and put in the work. When you sign a guy from a practice squad or you pick someone up, off the street, it's not just learning the assignments. It's learning the technique we're using. You're learning our communication. So I think it's a testament to them to start, and then Jerron and James were always just ready to go. They're ready to play. They did a good job this last week of stepping in against Baltimore. We have a lot of respect for their defense. They're one of the best defenses in the league. So those guys came in, and we have a big challenge this week in Pittsburgh. But to have that much moving around the line, you always hope you have 5 guys that stay the same. But it's a dangerous sport, and guys get banged up, and hopefully we can get Jed back here and some other guys. But until then, I've been really happy with the way the guys have filled in and really just took the responsibility of learning the playbook and knowing what their assignments are.
Joel, with all of that said, you're sitting in the 6th spot right now in the AFC playoff picture. You mentioned you're going up against a talented defense with the Pittsburgh Steelers in your division. What has to happen with everything you're saying about the offensive line, and you've had some shifting going on there, when you have a new quarterback come in DTR? What do you guys need to figure out first during this week? Is it cadence with him? Is it how he operates? Just how to get on the same page before really probably even execution starts?
Yeah, for me, I love to hear the cadence because it's always a little bit different. They try and be as close as possible, but when you're trying to jump the count and get off on the line, you want to make sure that cadence is good. Just how they operate in the huddle. We've had some reps with DTR. He played that week against Baltimore. So we've had some experience with him, but just get that understanding, and then as an offense, just know we have a great defense that we're playing with. They're gonna take care of their job. We have to go out and do our job. We don't have to do anything out of the world. We just have to do our job, and that's really been stressed to all 11 guys that are gonna be on the field, and just getting a feel of how we're gonna take care of the ball. When we win the turnover battle or tie the turnover battle here, we got a great record, so we're going to try and do that. And obviously we know it's a big challenge this week, but I do think we have the right mentality going into it.
So you guys lost to the Steelers in week 2. You get to play him again with DTR now at quarterback. But tell me this: they're such an edge-dominant football team, right? With Highsmith and Watt, a lot of Cam Akers playing that 5. Cam Hayward playing that 5 technique. Are there any vulnerabilities in your little cone guard to guard where you guys think you can exploit that defense?
They're pretty solid, across the front. Obviously, you hear about TJ, making the plays on their edges are both really good, and Cam Hayward's been back for a couple weeks now, coming off that injury. We didn't play him in week 2, and I've gone against him a bunch in my career, so that's always a good battle. But they've had some good players. Number 95 for them, he's a rookie. He's come in. Larry Ogunjobi, we know he was in Cleveland, so they have some good players. They obviously are a little bit banged up at linebacker. The last couple weeks they've had to put a couple guys on IR, but the Steelers do a good job of plugging in players, and I think their defense has that mentality, and they've been taking away the ball, scoring touchdowns, doing enough to win these games. So we know there's a challenge up in front of us, and we're gonna have to play our best game to try and get a win.
Well, let's say this, Joel. Your defensive front has been a challenge for anybody they've gone against this season. And you got a chance to see them up close and personal with the new additions that are up there with Myles and the way that they've been able to play together. What I'm curious, though, from an all-pro guard, what would be going through your mind if Myles Garrett was coming towards you and he's doing the, Allen Iverson crossover, the thing he's working in the middle of the offensive line? Give me the Joel Bitonio take on that pass rush technique by one of the best in the game in Myles Garrett.
Well, I've got to see it in practice, which is much better than the game. It doesn't quite count in practice. He'll get his one-on-one reps when he lines up on the inside. But that's one of those ones where you see him line over the left guard of the center, like maybe let's slide that way, let's double team here. But Coach Schwartz, Coach Schwartz does a good job of getting him some one-on-one matchups, moving him around the the formation. So he has some one-on-one matchups. But if you're in a game and you got the Myles Garrett walking around over you, you're like, hey, let's slide left here, guys. Let's get some help going that way. But no, they're playing so good, and it's been so fun to they make these big plays for you. You see them, sacks, fumbles, touchdowns. You win them against them in camp, and you don't really know in camp because everybody knows each other so well. And then they play the first couple games. You're like, we got a pretty good defense now, and it's been fun to It's fun to play alongside them. Hopefully, play some complimentary football down the stretch here.
Joel, I've talked to players who've done it, coaches who've done it, and a lot of times it's thrown out there. When a quarterback goes down, there's always this thinking the more pressure is on the defense now to hold the fort until the offense figures things out. Do you think that's the case with the Browns now, or do you think there's more pressure on the offense to execute better because Dorian might be your guy going the rest of the way?
Yeah, it's you know, I wouldn't call it pressure, but our defense has been performing very well. You know, we understand that. So I think they have their standard that they want to play to and what Coach Schwartz kind of pushes them to. And as an offense, you know, we understand we want to take care of the ball. We will run the ball, take our shots when we can, get the ball to Amari, get the ball to David. Jerome Ford's been running the ball well for us. Kareem getting those touchdowns. So we have our weapons too. And I wouldn't even say pressure. We just want to do our 111, do our job out there, play complimentary football, and you know, see what happens, you know, 1 week at a time.
All right, before we finish this out, Joel, I have to ask you, I'm not trying to look back and Josh Dobbs, right, in that situation. I'm looking forward. Obviously, he was a teammate of yours, and you spent some time with him. What's just your take on what he's been able to do the last couple of weeks in Minnesota, just as a football fan and probably a friend of his?
Yeah, it's been so impressive. You know, I got to spend a lot of time with him last year, and then obviously this year before we traded him away. But first off, he's a great person, like, you know, one-of-one type people, and you love to see him do really well. And then, I mean, you look at it, even at the end of last year when he, you know, played for Tennessee for a little bit. He was in Cleveland, obviously, and then he's been traded, you know, on 3 different teams already this year. Like, it's such a journey, and you know, I know he's taking it day by day. But it's impressive. It talks to the person he is. You know, he has the football talent, but the way he attacks it, the way he learns, you know, gets along with everybody truly, it's pretty special for him. And I'm sure, you know, hopefully, you know, he's doing a good job, and I'm rooting for him. So hopefully he leads the Vikings to a, you know, playoff berth and does some things there. But I think he'll look back on this year and be like, man, that was a crazy special year for him. But he's a great dude, and, you know, we're all rooting for him.
Hey, Joel, you guys have an opportunity to say it is a crazy special year for you two, man. We really appreciate you taking the time. We're just going to call you the caboose now, number 75, the last guy on the train pushing things forward.
Pushing it all down the hill.
Thank you so much, my man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.